Hello, welcome back for another math lesson with Mr. Hopkins. Today we're going to look at all the factoring that we've done in this unit. So we've got some mixed factoring. So some may only have the GCF, some will have to factor using the box method if they're trinomials, and some will just be the difference of two squares. And we have to recognize that. So it says, how do you know whether we are factoring or using the box method or it's the difference of two squares? Well, the first thing you always have to do is look to see if there's a GCF. So is there a GCF? If there is, factor it out. Otherwise, it's probably a trinomial. If it's a trinomial, then we'll just factor with the box method or with two parentheses. Factor remaining. And I can factor it if it's a trinomial, or if it's a binomial with the middle term missing, chances are it's the difference of two perfect squares. So let's look at it. It'll come to mind. So first of all, number one, is there a GCF? Absolutely. Between 50 and 70, 10 goes into both of those numbers. Between x to the 7th and x to the 4th, also a GCF. Remember, I take the largest one that they have in common. Well, they have 4. The one on the right only has 4, so I couldn't take out more than that. So 10x to the 4th is the GCF. And I'm going to divide what's remaining. So 50 divided by 10 is 5. X to the 7th divided by x to the 4th. When we divide exponents with the same base, we subtract those exponents. So 7 minus 4 is 3. Bring down the minus sign. 70 divided by 10 is 7. And x to the 4th divided by x to the 4th is just 1. So this is what's remaining. So it was just a GCF. Always take the GCF out first. In number 2, is there a GCF? They don't all have an x, so there's no GCF. So let's look at factoring into two parentheses. The leading coefficient is 1, so I can just break this up into x times x. So what I'm looking for is factors of the last term that add to get the middle term. So factors of 24 that add to get negative 10 is negative 12 times positive 2. They add to get negative 10. They multiply to get negative 24. And I'm done. The next one. These guys are all even numbers. I know they're divisible by 2. So the GCF between the numbers is 2. They all also have a y. So I can take out a 2y. So what's left over? We divide. 38 divided by 2 is 19. Y to the 4th divided by 1. So 4 minus 1 is y cubed. Bring down the minus sign. 14 divided by 2 is 7. 2 minus 1 is 1y left. Plus 8 divided by 2 is 4. And y divided by y is gone. So that's factored. Took the GCF right out. Let's look at the next two. So we factored, number 1 was GCF. Number 2, we factored a trinomial. And number 3 was also another GCF. Number 4, there's only two terms there. The first part's a perfect square, the last part's a perfect square, and it's separated by a minus. All 3 of those are important. And if those hold true, then it's the difference of two perfect squares. So the square root of x to the 8th is x to the 4th times x to the 4th. The square root of 64 is 8 times 8. One of them is positive, one of them is negative. Let's try one more. maybe 2. Number 5, 81 and 27. Those are both factors. 27 goes into 81 3 times, so the GCF in this one would be 27. A to the 5th and A to the 4th, they both have 4, so that's the GCF. So 81 divided by 27 is 3. 5 minus 4 is 1. Bring down the minus. If I take out the whole thing, 27 A to the 4th, anything divided by itself is 1. I have to show a 1 in there, so when I distribute, I get my answer back. And that is factored, all by GCF. Number 6, there is no GCF between 10, 7, and 12. There's no GCF between x squared x and, well, the n doesn't even have an x, so there's no GCF. So when I have a trinomial with a leading coefficient other than 1, remember I multiply that to the end. I put that 10x at the beginning of each of my factors. And then I'm going to find factors of 120, negative 120, that add to get the middle term, 7. So let's see. We go to y equals, if I put in negative 120 and I divide by x, we go to the table, second graph, and this gives me all the factors of negative 120. I'm looking for 2 numbers that might add to give me 7. So let's go through this list. And I've already found it. 15 and 8. So positive 15 minus 8 would give me 7. And if I multiply 15 times negative 8, I get negative 120. So now whichever has a GCF, I'm going to divide that out. So right now this first set of parentheses can be divisible by 5. The next set of parentheses can be divisible by 2. So I get 2x plus 3, 5x minus 4. And that's my answer. All right, so I'd like you to try the next 3 for practice. I'll go over them in the next lesson.